Yeah, totally. And I think that is, again, it's an industry problem, and it's a
Hmm.
battle that ethical lenders really need to, or ethical intermediaries really need to fight against, to really help people, be able to, because if somebody borrows and they borrow ethically and then they're able to satisfy their obligations and they're able to succeed, they're going to come back and grow more. More.
Exactly.
And this is the money. This is the mindset. This is the mentoring podcast. And today we've got Reggie Richardson with us of Preferred Funding Group. Dude, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is money, and specifically around
Sir.
the three beautiful letters that really what I actually used to have this podcast called when I first started this podcast. It used to be called the OP3. And what there was a play on was OPM, other people's money, but it was supposed to be other people's mindset, money, and mentorship. And that's what it was
Okay.
originally called. But then the five people who knew what OPM stood for, thought it was interesting. Everybody else thought it was something that you'd buy from, someone of a bad spot. So I quickly changed the name to the money, mindset, and mentoring. But
Hmm.
OPM is something that's really important to me. I think looking at other people's money, if you can get leverage, in your business, it's so critically important. Just like if you can get leverage on systems and models through either technology or integrating people into your organization, I think it's critical. A lot of people, especially in the small business world, really overlook the opportunity of leverage. And
Exactly.
and what do you find? Do people come in at the right time looking for leverage, or do they come in too soon or too late when they're typically looking at trying to get money into their business?
You know what? I'm not trying to be wishy-washy here, but I see both. I see a lot of
Mm,
both. There are a lot of times that people come in where they're too far gone in order for me to be able to save them, okay? Or any lender to be able to save them. So the important piece about when you're talking about leverage is that you want to have the upper hand. All right. You don't want the lender to have the upper hand because they're going to be the ones that can dictate the terms to you. They're going to do it anyway, but might as well put yourself in the best position possible to where you know that, hey, I got a strong hand here. So they're not just going to bully me. And some lenders will fold and they'll go ahead and they'll give you what you need. But, a good majority of the time, you're going to be at their mercy. So you want to put yourself in the best position possible in order to do that. So in order to stay under leverage, you just have to be smart with your money, man. That's it. You can't go out there and pick up so many extras that you truly don't need. Those are wants and not
mm.
actual needs. You need to take care of your needs first and then your wants come in there. But don't put yourself in the position that you have so many needs that you're going to be over leveraged. I mean, if
Yeah,
that makes
totally.
sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Money is a tool, just like
Hmm.
a shovel, just like a
Exactly.
hammer, and anything. And if you have a garage full of shovels, but you only need one, that's a lot of inventory that's just sitting around not being used.
Hmm.
And I think, people being able to go and actually make that decision of, how much do I actually need? What is suitable for my business? Not what helps me support a pipe dream, but what matches the amount of leverage required to get the job done. And
Hmm.
so that it puts me in a better financial situation. I think it's
And
so critical important.
very important. And how are you going to figure that out? By research, by doing your homework. All right. You can't say, hey, you know what? And I think I used this example before is that, you want to open up a dog walking service. Okay. And just when you and I were talking about that, you want to open up a dog walking service, but yet you go out and you want to get a building for this dog walking service. You want to buy a bunch of other excuse me, equipment that you're going to need in order to make it successful. I understand that is the most important thing to be able to do that, but you need to understand the amount that it's going to cost you in order to get to that point. Okay, so that means that you have to do the research and look at what companies can I go and deal with. They're going to give me the best deals possible and put myself in the position to where if I'm going to open up this dog walking service, there might be other things. And I want to do it in a brick and mortar. I don't want to do it out of my house. I want to do it in a brick and mortar. What other things can I do with this service in order to enhance the possibility that I will be able to be successful at this by taking other skills that I have, like maybe I can groom the dog also. All right.
Mhm.
So now the dog walking service becomes now not just dog walking, but dog walking and grooming, which are going to open up your opportunities to where you're going to have more resources that you're going to have to implement into it. As opposed to just doing the dog walking, you might only need a few bucks to do that.
Well, and what you've really done is you've really honed in on the idea that when somebody goes to look for financing, it's not
Hmm.
about getting financing. It's about looking what is the outcome of getting financing.
Outcome.
Because if you
Exactly.
focus really on the outcomes of getting financing, you know it's going to be the right decision at the right amount to do the right things.
Thank you.
Many times when you get into operation, you're going to find, operational awareness happens. One of my favorite sayings from Grant Cardone is around the idea of that massive imperfect action beats perfect planning. And I
Hmm.
definitely think getting into action is extremely important. The second thing that he says is, a lot of people, go by the erroneous belief that if you build it, they will come. And what his
Hmm.
belief is if they come, then build it. And
Yeah.
because you don't want to build a dog walking location that all of a sudden you get all this inventory, you get all this capital, you put out hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and then, five dogs show up and now you're bankrupt.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great
Yeah.
that you have 50, 60, 70 dogs queued up that you're like, look,
Hmm.
we're doing a dog walking business. We want to assess the market. We've got 50 people on a waiting list ready for us to open up. And man, isn't
Exactly.
that a way better situation? And that probably helps you when it comes to securing the financing as well, is that you have
Hmm.
that pent up need in the market that you're actually satisfying.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's very important to know your targeted audience. You have to know that, and that's key for anything that I do whenever I'm talking with a potential client out there and they're telling me whatever venture that they want to get into. It doesn't matter whether it's dog walking or if they want to get into, renting cars out, that
Mm.
whole, I think it's Toro thing. That's another big thing that's going on right now. Okay, and we've had several clients that have come in and they've looked for loans in order to do that, as opposed to going to the car dealership and getting the loan straight from there. They come to us and then they can secure a significant amount of money in order to not just buy one, but two or three cars. All right.
Well, I
And you
think that
have
that's the difference between financing an asset and financing a business. Because when you're
exactly.
financing a business, you're financing not only the asset itself, but also the business plan that supports the asset.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's a very different mechanism when people are looking at financing, is looking at
Exactly.
the differences between your traditional, I'm, going to buy a car and get my monthly payment on my car,
Hmm.
versus I have a business that can support X amount of capital based on the net return that it gives.
Exactly. And that is key that you're looking at the returns. What is the ROI? What is going to be the ROI once I get this money? All right. And do I have the necessary resources available in order to ensure that this success is going to come through to me? As far as, I have a lot of clients who come through me, and the first thing that they look for is, they want to maximize the amount of money that they can get. I want to get as much as I possibly can, as much as I possibly can. Hey, I understand that, man, but what are you using that money for? Did you get a breakdown of what's going to be needed in order for you to put yourself in that position, that winning position? All right, I'm gonna use Charlie Sheen. I don't care. I loved him when I was a kid back in the '80s, bruh. He's part of the Brat Pack, so he's a little
Yeah.
crazy now, but hey, I still like him.
A little
You
crazy
know,
then too, but it's all good.
Look, a lot crazy then, a lot more crazy than actually.
Yeah.
But what's going to put you in that winning position? Okay, is it going to be one car? Is it going to be two? Or is it going to be three? All right. I don't want you to maximize and come in here and get as much money as you possibly can just because you can. Because you know what? You don't know if all three of those cars are going to be lucrative or as lucrative from one to the next. Okay. Because when you're getting involved with certain things, you need to understand the industry that you're going into, what is going to be your competition, who is your targeted audience, who are going to be the ones, man, that are going to put you over that edge and or that edge that's going to put you in that winning position. So when you're going to a lender, the most important thing that you need to understand is that most of them are going to try to give you as much money as possible. because that to
There's
me,
lenders want to lend, like,
yeah.
and we've seen this in the, the bank struggles of, when the lenders started to really collapse because of way
Mm-hmm.
overextended their clients, because at the end of the day, their mission is to put their money out.
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and to, sometimes, I mean, the TD in Canada just got hit. I think it was some $1 billion of lawsuits around fraud because they just
Mm-hmm.
were putting out a ridiculous amount of money through a fraudulent channel that was just paying them back in huge dividends. And they probably ran the discussion, and again, I'm not going to say anything that I don't know because I don't know anything about this, but looking at the news, it was, I mean, it's a math decision for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to make enough money, we'll pay a lawsuit, and then we end up still in the positive. And so, that's one of the struggles that happens when you're ethically lending money, is you want to look at it and say, okay, it's not just about the lending of the money. It's about, is this a suitable situation? Is
Mm-hmm.
this something that's suitable, not just for the lender, because the lenders, they want to lend, but is this suitable for me? Is this suitable for my borrower? If I'm the intermediary, being
Mm-hmm.
able to help that. I know in our mortgage business, it's one of the most important things
Mm-hmm.
is when they're dealing with classic A lending, typical bank lending. It's number one, is it the right decision for the right amount of money, and can they actually support it? Because the way the calculations are done for the benefit of the banks, not for the benefit of the borrower,
And
for
that
most
is
of us.
key. And that is key, man. You have to be able to overcome temptation when it comes down to that. Yes, they're going to put 200, 300, $1 million in front of you. Are you going to take that just because you can? Or are you going to take what you need?
Yep.
Right. And that's
Yep.
going to be the most important piece. That's why you have to do your research and you have to know exactly what's going to be that dollar amount, that threshold that you need to get to. And you know what? Guess what? If you get a $200,000 loan as opposed to the $500,000 that they are offering you, if they're offering you that 500,000, if you get this 200,000 and you use it appropriately, guess what? When you come back the next time that you need money, it's still going to be there. The banks aren't going to close. They're still going to be there. If you're looking to get working capital and you want to grow from that, you still have that opportunity in the future, but you want to ensure that you're going to be able to get from point A to point B by not putting yourself in such a dire situation or putting yourself in peril on a loan that might not be necessary.
Yeah, totally. And I think that is, again, it's an industry problem, and it's a
Hmm.
battle that ethical lenders really need to, or ethical intermediaries really need to fight against, to really help people, be able to, because if somebody borrows and they borrow ethically and then they're able to satisfy their obligations and they're able to succeed, they're going to come back and grow more.
Exactly.
Most of the people that I find in the industry when it comes to the mortgage business, they buy one investment property, and if they made a sound decision, they're going to go out and buy another one, and they're
Yep.
going to go buy another one, and they're going to buy it because the math works.
Hmm.
And one of the things, I was just down with Gary Keller in Austin, and his one of his biggest beliefs is the path is in the math. And you've got to look at that math, and you've got to have the plan, and it's got to be substantiated through the math, and make sure that that happens. Because if you don't, then you're going on just creativity, and there's no baseline for actual models for success because you don't have the math in place.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's key. And that's why I tell all my clients, have the math in place, man. Know what you're going to
Absolutely.
need. What's going to put
Absolutely.
you in the best winning position. And
Now,
that's the most.
there's sometimes where people are in a situation where their story shows that it's suitable, but their documents don't necessarily support that. This is where the lenders
Hmm.
have an idiosyncrasy that, maybe they don't subscribe to the perfect element of that lender policy, but looking at their suitability outside of the guidelines of the lender, you can clearly see that it's something that would support a decision of a greater lend. How do you advise people to demonstrate suitability and be able to beef up their case with the lenders to be able to hit that point of good suitability for them, as well as maximizing the opportunity that they're about to take?
Okay, so and each lender is going to be different, man. You got so many different ways that you can get money. You can get money from SBA, you can get business or asset-based lending like from SBA, Small Business Administration. That's something that is very well supported here in
Mm-hmm.
the States. And I don't know if you guys have a similar situation up there in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
but I know down here we have a lot of SBA lenders where you can use your business, the revenue in your business, the equity in your business that you have in order to present that forward to ensure that you're going to be able to get a loan. Now, what I do something called unsecured loans. Did you freeze up? Are you there?
Mhm.
Okay, you froze up for a second there.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We could just keep on going. I'm going to just do a mark. That's why I
Okay,
said just keep on talking because it'll
uh,
just stitch itself
it just
together.
keep on going.
Yeah.
So, and then, after SBA, when you're talking about a small business loan, the next person or the next industry in line is going to be me. And that's going to be unsecured loans. Okay. So what I do instead of using the business as leverage, I'm going to go and look at your good behavior that you've had up until this point. So I'm looking at your credit scores, making sure that those are going to be high enough to where, and I look for a paper, and then also the income. All right. And that you're not over leveraged when you're talking about your own personal income. So that means like your house note and your car payments and everything that's going to be added on all your debt that you have going out a month will not exceed the amount of money that you have coming in, obviously. But you definitely want to keep it low enough to where if you're going to try to borrow some money from a lender, that they can see that you're going to have the ability to pay that money back. And normally that's going to be a number of 40%. All right, 40%, that's what lenders, they want to see you stay underneath that. Okay, if you're over that, then there's a lot of times, especially if you're coming to get a personal loan, a personal term loan, whether it's an unsecured or whatever, going through a bank, it's going to affect the amount that you're going to be able to get. Okay, now if you're doing an SBA, obviously it's an asset-based loan. They're going to want to look at your credit score, and they're just going to want to see that you have a good enough behavior that not only did you open up a business, but you're going to be able to support this business because you're going to make your payments because that's what history has shown. Okay. And then now that they have the business as leverage, you know, they can take that as opposed to, you go bankrupt, they have nothing to grab onto, and that's one of the bad things about unsecured loan when it comes down to the lender. All right, not so much the borrower, but the lender. Okay, and then after that, you have other, different industries, and I'm not going to say that they're questionable, man, because every industry that you have that can loan out money is going to be viable and it can help certain people. Now, if you're going after me, you're looking at like a merchant cash advance loan. If you're looking at an MCA, one of the things you need to understand when you're going into that situation, and it's going to be high interest rates.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Those are going to be, one of those predatory type payday loans that you want to steer away from. But if it's something that you need, I am not going to be the type of person that's going to tell you that you can't go out and try to make or get as much money as possible to help your business survive. If that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. But you need to go in there with an understanding of the requirements and what they're going to do to you after that. All
Yeah.
right.
And then the exit. I mean, the one thing that we talk a
What's
lot
your
about
exit plan? Yeah.
we talk a lot about that in our mortgage business is around the idea that if you're going to bring somebody into a private mortgage or an alternative mortgage or a B mortgage, we're
hmm
here for a good time, not a long time. And
hmm
what does that exit look like? Because if you don't have an exit plan, you're not helping that person.
Not at all. Not at all. And you know what? I don't know much about mortgages, but I do know that when my mother-in-law kind of got fleeced with an investor, that was set up by my brother-in-law, but when she got fleeced and she lost her whole life savings after 40 years of working at Motorola, she had over $150,000 worth of money and they fleeced her for every dime. She had to go and get a reverse mortgage just so she can stay alive. And then we looked at that and it's like, boy, she kind of got fleeced again.
Well, the thing is with all of these offers, it's always about are they getting fleeced or are they paying the cost of risk? And
There you go.
and when we look
Okay.
at reverse mortgages, there's always a cost of risk because their only beneficial value is in the actual asset itself. And there's a
hmm
lot of the volatility that can happen in real estate, especially. I mean, we've seen that over the past few years where real estate always looked like it just would just keep on going up, and then we saw a correction. And a lot of those lenders were in very much in a technical default on their lending portfolio.
hmm
And so that put them in a really bad situation. And
Yeah.
so I always look at the risk. Interest is congruent with the risk the lender is taking. If there's no
Okay.
risk, the cost is going to be very low. And
Hmm.
if there's a high degree of risk, the cost is going to be greater. And so just know where you sit. And if it's a high degree of risk, then you have to understand, well, that's a high degree of risk to you yourself.
Hmm.
It's not for the lender because the lender's going to lose, but you're going to lose as well. And so you've got to identify, I'm in a high risk scenario. What am I going to do to get out of that situation? It's not a spot to stay in. It's a spot to go in, spend a little time, and then get out.
And see, and that was one of the things that we kind of recognized as the process was going on when we are trying to move everything out of her house after she passed, and get the house up on the market, and try to settle off with this reverse mortgage and everything. My wife and her brother, they went through it, and they just kind of said, they surrendered because of our own ignorance, and we didn't understand exactly what was going on at that time. And that put her, or that put her property or whatever she had in peril. And there is not much that we can do in order to change that. So that was a lesson learned for us, and that's
Well, and
one
I
of the
think I
things.
think the one thing that happens with a lot of individuals is you're always a build out of all the situations and experiences and exposures that you've had in your life.
Exactly.
And a lot of where you look at the, suitable, the responsible, the dutiful analytics around making a good financial decision really comes out of a situation like that where you've seen where it's gone in peril and you're like, I'm never going to have anybody I do business with run into that situation.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
you know what? I think that as you said before, you just the thing is you have to look at what's going to be the most beneficial thing for you
Yep.
in order to put yourself in the best position possible. And I truly feel that with the loans that are available to individuals out there, each and every one can be a benefit for them.
Yep.
You
Yep.
have the MCA lenders. Yes, they're going to have high interest rates. They might have a daily or maybe even a weekly payment that you have to take care of. But if you need the money now, if this is something that you need in order to finish a project that you know that you're going to get paid out on in a month or so, if you can get this 50,000, just complete this one task, and you're going to get paid 500,000 once it's done, why not? Why not do that? If you have that exit plan that you know is going to come into fruition, you have that plan. You know it's going to work. So that is good to get a merchant cash advance. But if you're a startup company and then you just over leverage with so many things, you didn't realize how many responsibilities that you're going to have to take on, how much money it's going to cost, and now you just need some more money to get yourself out of debt.
Yeah, that's a tough situation.
That is a terrible situation to put yourself in. That's a terrible situation not to put yourself to be in. It's not that you put yourself in it. There might be some obstacles that came up, some extenuating circumstances that put you in that position. It's not always going to be the borrower's fault, you
Yep.
know. But
Yep.
sometimes, as you said before, sometimes these lenders, they look at it and it's not always going to be the best situation to where the optimal situation, let's put it that way, the optimal situation. Sometimes you're going to have to look at it and say, okay, well, this person is definitely in the position to where he can make a payment or he can pay this money back. But as of now, just when we're looking at it on paper, because, people like to write things off, understood. You know, there are certain things that I see on a day-to-day basis that, is something I just wouldn't do for myself, but,
Yep.
it's beneficial for them and their
Yep.
company, then I implore them to do that. As long as it's something, man, that's going to make it, or they're doing it to improve their plot, put themselves in a better
Yep.
position to be
I love it.
successful.
Improve their plot, put them in a better situation. Don't
Yes.
make them the red coat in Star Trek, leaving them on the planet
Yes,
all alone. And they're actually getting back up to the ship and being in a good situation.
exactly.
Reggie, it is a joy to speak with somebody who's really cares about their clients. I know your history really shows that, in all the work that you've done prior to being in this industry, you've really given to the community, working with a lot of, people in tough situations.
Hmm.
And it definitely shows in the way that you're compassionate about these things. For people to get a hold of you, they would find you a preferred funding group is the way they would look you up there. And I think the good thing is start off with a virtual coffee and a little bit of advice, and I
Exactly.
think that's the best way to have a conversation and make things happen. And my friend, it's been a great moment having you on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
And Steve, thank you very much. And I've always been a big fan of building a rapport with somebody, man. I like being able to talk to people and, hopefully learning a little bit more about them as opposed to learning more about what they need. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it just puts me in a better position to help them out, and want to.
That's right. And that's beautiful. And that's the fun part of
Hmm.
the job. And it's great to see the outcomes that people create through the opportunities that they can find through using really good, suitable leverage. And so appreciate the chat, my friend. And guys, this is the money. This is the mindset. This is a mentoring podcast with Reggie Richardson. We'll see you on
All
the
right.
next one.
All right.